this episode of United, standardized tests. How do they affect your college application? Ready for liftoff, we'll show you some cheerleading skills. And then we'll visit a place where whining and dining is part of the course load. United starts now.
Do you know what colleges are looking for when they review your application? Well, it's everything from community service to your GPA that may be evaluated. And your standardized testing score is one of the most important factors when it comes to an admissions committee. So I know the standardized testing can be pretty intimidating, but with us here today, I have Dr. Chavis, the Vice President of Admissions from the University of Central Florida, and he's going to give us some tips and tell us a little bit more about standardized testing to ease your fears. Thank you so much for being here again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What are the different standardized tests that are out there?
Well, there are two major tests that we look at for students who are applying from high school to college. And that's the SAT, which is administered by the College Board, and the ACT, which is administered by the ACT Corporation. Those are the two major tests that all colleges and universities will require of high school seniors who are applying to college.
Now, is there a difference between the two as far as which looks better on your application?
There really isn't a difference. What we have found, and this is anecdotal information, so don't quote me on this, but a lot of guidance counselors will suggest that students fare a lot better on the ACT than they do on the SAT. We don't know why, but that's what they suggest, and so they will encourage their students, if they don't do well on the SAT, to take the ACT.
All right, well, what about timing? Is it ever too early to start prepping for the exam, and when is a good time to actually take a standardized test?
Well, we get that question from parents all the time, and they suggest that students should start prepping in the 7th grade, and that's way too early. We really encourage families to start looking at the SAT prep tests in the 10th grade, and then take the PSAT, which is the pre-test in the 11th grade, which helps to prepare students for testing in the latter part of the junior year and then in the senior year.
It's funny that you said that because I actually got a letter from a university when I was in 7th grade asking me to take the SAT. And it didn't go so well.
Well, there you go.
So I did the whole waiting until 10th grade and
well, remember,
worked out better.
these are subject tests, and if you haven't had an exposure to the subject information, you're not going to do as well on the tests. And they begin to test information at the 10th grade level, and that's when you really should start focusing on taking those standardized tests.
Now, as the Vice President of Admissions, do you look at the overall standardized test score, or do you look at the components that break it down with the math and the English?
Most of our focus is on the overall score. But for example, if a student is applying to an engineering program, then the engineers want to make certain that those students are doing well in math. So it really does depend on what the intended major is of the applicant as to whether or not we're going to focus on one subset of the score or the overall score. But it's mostly the focus on the overall score.
Now, is there an underlying importance to the SAT or the ACT, or are you truly looking for the overall well-rounded student?
Well, that's good. That's a good question. The test scores are just one of many factors that we look at in what we call a holistic review of a student who applies to the university. The most important thing would be the student's selection of courses in high school, as well as the performance in those courses as evidenced by the grades. Other than that, we then look at a whole host of other factors, which would include the test scores, letters of recommendation, an essay, which is important to our faculty, and then, of course, co-curricular activities. And students should really focus on the depth of co-curricular activities as opposed to the breadth. In other words, they really need to focus on one or two and get involved and rise to positions of leadership as opposed to being involved in 12 or 13 organizations in high school.
Okay, so instead of doing a little bit of everything well, you want them to do one thing great.
Two things great.
Two things
That's
great.
Right. That's right.
All right. Is there anything else that maybe a student should keep in mind when they're actually taking the exam?
Well, I think the most important thing is to relax. What we have found, and there are a number of studies out there that suggest that students suffer from test anxiety because they're worried about the exam, 4 weeks out, 2 weeks out, the night before.
Don't get any sleep, not
Don't get any
rested.
sleep, maybe a little party the night before. You don't want to do that. You really want to make sure you get your rest, do the prepping that your high school would instruct you to do, and then be prepared for the test. And don't be afraid to take the test at least twice.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. It was wonderful having you here today.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome.
All right, now you know a little bit more about standardized testing, so hopefully you won't have so much anxiety when it's your turn. We'll see you after the break.
Did you know that the tourism and travel industries contribute more than $30 billion per year to Central Florida's local economy, according to the Orlando-Orange County Visitors Bureau? Don't go away. We'll show you how to get your piece of that pie when United returns.
Hey guys, welcome back to United. I'm here with Coach Linda Gooch, coach of the two-time national champion cheerleaders here at UCF. Now Coach, when you have girls or guys coming out of high school into college, what is the most difficult thing when it comes towards transitioning into the college level?
Well, one of the greatest challenges is certainly for high school girls because so many come from all-girl programs, and here at UCF we are a co-ed team, so we have actually more males than females on our team. So the question for many girls is, how do I get that practice at co-ed partner stunning?
And cheerleading is not all fun and glamorous. I mean, you can really get hurt. There's a lot of safety concerns when it comes to cheerleading.
That's right, and it's really important that anybody that's watching this at home, or if you're watching this and thinking, wow, I need to go out and practice that, it's important that you need to be in the presence of a qualified coach, and you also need to be sure that you're on the right type of padded surface or on a turf surface like we are here in our indoor football facility, or on grass.
Absolutely, padded surfaces are important.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look back and see what your cheerleaders are doing.
Great, they're right back here. Let's get started.
All right.
Hi, I'm Randy Brown. I'm an assistant coach here at the University of Central Florida, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about some of the all-girl stunts and what we do here with our co-ed stunts and kind of tie them into each other. We're going to show you the half full down right now. All right, for our bases on this, we're gonna have our bases and our back spots. They're gonna build up that same half that you guys have probably done over and over again. So we're gonna be in the half for the full down. It's real important that they're gonna use their legs to pop her nice and high. Back spot's gonna stay at the ankles to help pop it nice and high so she can get a nice high ride before she does that full down. So they're gonna dip with their legs, they're gonna dip, they're gonna pop her all the way up, keeping their hands up because it's real important that we catch her as high as we can after she does that full. Catch her as high as we can and then absorb and slow her down all the way down into that cradle. For the flyer, what she's gonna do, she's gonna build up that half, she's gonna be in the half, she's gonna keep her legs straight. Once she's all the way up there, she's gonna be in a high V. When they dip, she's not gonna do anything with her legs. She's gonna take that pop all the way up. She's gonna initiate that spin, start her spin with her hips, head, and shoulders all at the same time. At the top, she's gonna wrap around, finishing that spin on the way down, and then real important is her responsibility to catch her bases. Just in case something happens, she's there to catch herself as well. We'll go ahead and show it to you one more time. Bases are gonna drive it all the way up. They're gonna keep it right here at shoulder level. Now watch their legs and watch your flyer's legs here as they dip for that cradle. Ready? 1, 2. They dip with their legs. She spins at the top, catching herself in that cradle. So we have our nice half full down. All right, our next stunt we have for you here is a 360. This is a transitional stunt that you would put between two stunts. We're just gonna show you the 360 part here first. So we'll show it to you. All right, for the 360, we're gonna talk about our main base here. This is our base who's gonna be doing the actual spinning of the stunt. They're gonna take their front hand, the hand that's closest to the audience, and he's gonna turn it in towards his belly button, and he's gonna take his back hand and have it on the heel, and he's gonna start with his legs bent in a normal load like you would load in for a half or any other stunt. Now when it dips to spin, he's gonna dip with his legs, he's gonna drop this elbow in, and it has to drive all the way up to the top. The spin's gonna finish at the top, his backhand releases, and then it grabs it as it finishes the spin, and he slows it right back down to that load position, and you're ready to go right back up to any other stunt that you wanted to do. For our flyer, important for her, she's gonna jump in with her feet in close, just like she's doing a half or an extension or any of those other stunts. The only difference here is she's gonna stand up, and as she stands up, she's gonna take her head, hips, and shoulders all together. She's gonna look over that shoulder, finishing her spin at the top, keeping her legs locked. As it finishes on the way down, she's gonna look for their shoulders with her head. As she reaches their shoulders, she's gonna slightly bend with her knees, and then she's right back there in that squish, ready to go right back up. We'll show it to you one more time. So that is our 360 to squish. All right, the next stunt we have for you here is a ground up heel stretch. All right, for the ground up heel stretch, for your bases, you're gonna have your main base and you're gonna have your side base or your secondary base right here. Your main base is gonna grab just like an extension with both hands on that one foot. Your secondary base is gonna go ahead and put that right hand under the foot, and there's a couple different things that we'll talk about here with this left hand that you can do. We suggest you grab on the wrist so you can help lift up with that base. So they're gonna start with that foot in there, they're gonna have their legs bent, staying in close to each other. When she dips to go up, they're gonna dip with their legs, 1, 2, driving it all the way up to the top, coming in close to each other, and they're all pushing up. You notice this hand's on the wrist right here, so he can help lift up with your main base. For the dismount to come down, all we did was come back to where we started, so they're gonna dip with their legs, bring it down nice and slow, letting her tap the ground as she comes down. For your back spot, he's gonna go ahead and start at the ankle that's in the base's hands and underneath her seat. He's gonna drive up with them underneath her seat, driving all the way up to the top with that left hand, and then grabbing the ankle with both hands at the top as she pulls that stretch. For the heel stretch, she's gonna start with that right leg in her base's hands. All she's gonna do is think step and lock. She's gonna dip with them, she's gonna step up, locking that leg, and then pulling that heel stretch at the top. For the dismount, she's gonna keep that leg straight, 1, 2, swinging that leg through the back so she can help slow herself down, reaching for those shoulders and bending at the bottom. We'll go ahead and show it to you one more time. Bases are in close, they have their legs nice and close. They're gonna take a big drive, stepping and locking for that flyer, pulling that stretch at the top. For the dismount, they're gonna keep it nice and slow, slowing it down, lowering her right back down to the ground. And that is your ground up heel stretch. As you noticed before, we were working on those group stunts, which required 3 bases. We're gonna show you what we do and how we tie all that in, because it's a lot of the same skills. We showed you a full down, a 360, and a heel stretch, and we're gonna put it all together for you right now, and we're gonna show you a full up heel stretch, full down. As you noticed, there were a lot of similarities there between the 360 and the full up part and the full down and the heel stretch. A lot of it's the same. The spin's gonna be the same for those girls when you guys are doing all girl or co-ed. So just keep working on those stunts, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
As always, guys, safety is a #1 concern. Make sure you're having the proper supervision and the proper safety equipment in order to do these stunts. But stick around because we have more United coming at you.
If you've ever wanted to spend your days around theme parks, resorts, or stellar restaurants, a career in the hospitality industry may be just for you. At the Rosen College of Hospitality Management at UCF, students enjoy world-class education in this multi-billion-dollar industry while studying inside of the granddaddy of tourism and hospitality destinations. From wine tasting to theme park management, the classes are as unique as the campus. So we asked those at the Rosen College, you can do what?
Hi, I'm Deborah Breiter, and I am the Department Chair for Tourism Events and Attractions here at the Rosen College of Hospitality Management. And I'm going to show you around the campus a little bit today so you can see why we are so excited about the Rosen College and everything that goes on here. And all of the students, regardless of the degrees that they're in, will study basic management principles as they relate to hospitality. So they'll study finance, accounting, human resources, marketing, strategy, things of that sort. And then you specialize in different areas depending upon the degree that you're in.
And I've taken courses from everything about guest service management to food prep to marketing, like including every sort of course that you could cover in the industry.
So the students in event management, for example, learn about event risk management. They learn about how to design an event and how to produce an event. Whereas the students in restaurant management will learn about restaurant brands and restaurant franchising, things of that sort. And our hospitality management students can take a variety of classes in different areas within hospitality.
Our hospitality degree will basically give you the knowledge and skills necessary to go out there in the real world and be a good leader, be very professional, and give good, exceptional service to our guests here that visit us.
I know people working in theme parks. I know people working in restaurants or for caterers and people in hotels. I personally work in sports, like any sort of area where there's going to be guests or an audience or anything like that.
So you can have a career within hospitality and work in many, many different types of businesses over the course of many years and have a very exciting, vibrant career. You're never going to be doing the same thing 2 days in a row. Okay, now we are in the Anheuser-Busch Beer and Wine Lab. This is the nicest room in the building, I think. And it's quite unique. You can see that we're all set up to do an actual wine tasting. That's one of the classes the students would take. And this kind of high-tech room with the capability of the cooking and being able to do the wine tasting, also beer tasting in here, is a way for our students to learn what that evaluation process is like for food and for beverages, so that when they are running restaurants or they are putting on catered events, they have a better appreciation for the food, they have a better appreciation for the wine, they know how to pair things together. That's really important in our business.
We are a real hard, like legit major, because all of my friends and I've heard people saying, like, do you actually do work here? Because it sounds like it's a whole bunch of fun. And it is a lot of fun because of what we're doing, but it's a lot of work too.
Basically, the professors put you in those real life situations. Even though they're hypothetical, they do occur, and they try to give you that hands-on learning experience by making exact replicas. Like, for example, we have a lab that has 2 exact replicas of what an actual kitchen would look like in the real world. So it does give you that hands-on experience that when you do go out there in the real world, you at least know what you're getting yourself into.
And during the course of their years here at the college, they're exposed to so much, and they have lots of opportunities to do hands-on projects and to actually plan events or to serve a meal. And then when they come into this room, which is our auditorium, once a week when they're seniors, one semester, they'll come in, they'll hear from some of the leaders in the hospitality industry.
It's in the center of everything. Like, Rosen is right down the street from Disney, Universal, International Drive, hotels, clubs, anything that you want to go into. It's all here for you.
And that is what makes us who we are. And I think that spirit to serve, that dedication to service, is what you'll find in the Rosen College. And we're dedicated to our students while they're here. We're dedicated to serving this fantastic industry. And we're dedicated to your future and your success.
Having roller coasters and water parks outside of your dorm is pretty cool, but sometimes it can be distracting while doing schoolwork. Coming up next on United, we get some advice from our academic expert on how to find the perfect place to study for your next class, no matter where you live.
Hey, this is LT from 101.1 WJRR. You're listening to the best sounds of area music. UCF Athletics, Access Magazine, and WJRR are proud to support local artists.
Welcome back to United. I'm Gina Thomas. I'm here with Christy Veldon, the Associate Director of Academic Services for Student Athletes, to talk about student study environments. Christy, why is it so important to find the right study environment for a student?
Well, that's what is going to enable these students to be successful. They've got to find where they can best learn the material that they need to know for the exams or for their assignments.
How can it influence them in a positive and sometimes a negative way?
Well, I think a positive, like I said, if they can find a successful environment to study in, they can obviously reduce their studying time and learn the material in a much more efficient manner. But a negative way, if they're distracted, if they're listening to music, talking on the cell phone, they're not going to get much studying done. So we want to make sure, like I said, that they can be in an environment where they can get their work done as efficiently as they possibly can.
What are some of the characteristics of a good study environment?
Well, that's going to depend based on person to person. You know, some students need to study in literally complete silence, where other students, like myself, when I studied, I needed to have just a little bit of quiet music on in the background, just to give a little bit of background noise. So it is going to be a little bit of trial and error for them to find out what's the best environment for them. But I would say you definitely want to reduce the amount of distractions as possible. So for instance, if you need a little bit of background noise, you might have the radio on quiet and that's it. You don't want to, have lots of friends, television, radio, cell phone, computer, all those things going on at the same time. Like I said, that's too many distractions.
Yeah, why is it that some students, they can be in quiet library and just, get what they need out of it, and then they could be in their living room with the radio on, and how can, why is it that they do that?
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it literally is just a matter of personal preference, and like I said, what they can, environment they can, best learn in and be successful in. And they've really got to be able to, once they find out what that environment is, tailor that time and time after again so that they continue to be successful.
What is one of the worst things that a student can do when trying to find that place for them that they can?
I think, one, they don't want to give up too easily on it, but two, they want to give it a fair shot and say, for instance, if they want to study at the library, that's a great time to go there, give it a try, but you don't want to go to the library and invite 10 friends with you. That obviously defeats the purpose. So it's, like I said, giving it a fair shot on their own. Like I said, maybe this time we tried, in your bedroom, by yourself with a little bit of music on. Maybe the next time you try it, like I said, in the living room, with the television on very quietly in the background. Just a little bit of trial and error to find out, like I said, how they can learn most efficiently and effectively.
Now, above all else, what is the number one thing that a student should keep in mind when trying to find that study environment?
Find a location where they're not going to be tempted. So for instance, nowadays kids like to go to Starbucks and things like that, and it's very easily to be distracted by other people, other things going on. So they've got to really know in their mind that they're going to study and to complete schoolwork, not to socialize.
Christy, what are some tips you can give to the student that can't find that quiet place? There's brothers or sisters running around.
Right. I think it's important to, obviously communicate that to those around you, whether it be roommates, parents, family members, and such, and really request, quiet time. But as well, little things they can do, earplugs. They can, like I said, use an iPod, but have it on, very low in the background. Things like that. Or, like I said, if they've got to leave that environment and maybe go to a library. Like I said, it's just really kind of reaching out and exploring some of those quiet places.
Now, how can the time of day affect the study environment?
Well, some people are, night owls, and they can, pull an all-nighter, no problem, and stay up, till wee hours of the morning studying. Whereas other people need to, their brain shuts off at 8 o'clock at night, so they've got to get their studying done early. So it's important to, realize kind of how their internal clock works. And if they're a morning person, then they've got to be conscious of that. And if you've got to get your homework done first thing in the morning, then get up and do that and make that a priority. Whereas, like I said, people on the alternative, they might be able to, have their normal day and then study, starting at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and scheduling, even with the student athlete, that comes into play.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of United. See you next time.